For those of you who are watching, this is Jillian.
Hi.
She's judgy. Send a request to being...
No.
You guys want to start? Yeah. Just...
Do you want to start at 17 or should we wait to 20?
20 what?
People watching.
You want to even number it? So now it's 18.
I don't know. I just want to give enough people a chance to
start. We need to start.
We should start? Okay.
Ask us in. Should we start? Yeah. All right.
We're gonna go outside just to see that it's not the auditorium connection.
People are logging on.
Yeah, we have people on already.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
I'm gonna get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Aw, thanks, Justin. We had some technical difficulties, so we're just gonna get started in 1 minute. All right. Thank you guys for all the support. Okay, so my name is Corinne Serrano. I'm the speech and debate teacher here at Santa Ana High School. And for those of you who don't know, speech and debate is an activity where students compete competitively using a variety of techniques and tactics they've learned throughout the years of training. We are a relatively new program, with this being our 4th year in total. And while they did start off as a ragtag team of freshmen, they are now a force to be reckoned with. I just want to give a brief trigger warning. The following performances do deal with mature topics ranging from assault to racism. So if any time you feel uncomfortable, we fully understand if you discontinue watching. I would like to introduce our first MC. She is definitely one of the most hard-working students I have ever come across, and it certainly has paid off. She's won multiple final round awards and has qualified to the National Speech and Debate Tournament this year. Ladies and gentlemen, Destiny Seha.
Thank you, Serrano. For students interested in the program or audience members watching, what is speech and debate? Speech and debate, especially in Santa Ana High School, is a life-changing program that provides students the opportunity to develop skills in confidence, research, critical thinking, organization, persuasion, and most importantly, communication. Skills to better prepare students for college and young adult success in the future. Here in Santa Ana High School, we have regular and advanced classes. The regular classes provide students the introduction of what the activity is, as well as prepares them to compete and perform for the advanced class, which includes our competitive team. Students are free to join the advanced class as soon as their freshman year or as late as their senior year. But it is worth noting, the Santa Ana prides themselves on making our presence, voices, and stories known and shared. For our competitive students, speech and debate tournaments aren't just about trophies, sweepstakes, wins, or losses. It's about advocacy. So experience is not needed, because this is a place where everyone is welcome to share their passion, love for knowledge, or simply their enthusiastic energy to simply speak and have them heard. To have a platform where their drive for advocacy will flourish. So before I introduce a long-awaited speaker, let me introduce you to the event of which you will be hearing from, Original Oratory. Original Oratory is a speech written by the student with the intent to inform or persuade the audience on a topic of significance. Oratory gives the students the unique opportunity to showcase their voice and passion for their topic. An oratory is simply not an essay about the topic. It is a well-researched and organized presentation with evidence, logic, emotional appeals, and sometimes humor to convey a message. A simple yet powerful form of advocacy that this speaker has more than mastered. Advancing to multiple out-rounds in the Harvard and Bradley University tournaments with multiple regional championship titles, finalizing in this year's state tournament and qualifying to this year's national tournament, please help me welcome our beloved and esteemed Jillian Palacios.
One day, my family and I sat down for the biggest event in our pandemic-induced summer. George Lopez's newest comedy special, We'll Do It for Half. Somehow, my white friend Lisa heard about our premiere and decided to come over. It's okay, she wore a hazmat suit the entire time. Anyway, George was doing his thing, I was doing mine, and then he made a joke about if Trump had asked immigrants to build the wall, we'd probably do it for half the pay. And finish it faster. I thought it was funny. And apparently Lisa thought it was hilarious, because while passing by street construction on our way to school the next day, She made a joke that if they would have just asked the Mexicans to do the job, they would have done it in half the time for half the pay. And that made me wonder, why did Lisa think it was okay to continue to laugh about pain from my culture? Yes, it's a comedy special, and I get that people are supposed to laugh. But Lisa's comfort at continuing to laugh at Mexican issues isn't an isolated incident. Medium of August 15, 2019 explains, because of the misrepresentation of people of color in social media, movies, and television shows that depict POC pain as predominantly humorous, we've accepted the pain of people of color as just another bit in a TV show. Fast Company on May 31st, 2019 furthers, oftentimes, watching POC pain is based in a comedic or dramatic context, and doing so fetishizes POC pain, while desensitizing viewers to lived suffering. So let's educate Lisa, then help her understand why she thought POC pain was so funny, by looking at the 3 ways we consume POC pain, each immediately followed by their own unique solution. Because it's time we stop conflating POC pain with entertainment, and acknowledge that this dichotomous treatment does more harm than good. I don't know who died and made white people think they're POC historians and can just hijack our experiences and traumas and then tell a watered down version of the truth. But somebody needs to call out these appropriators of pain for what they are: racist. The entertainment industry has a long history of celebrating POC pain, and their misrepresentation of POC narratives contributes to the negative treatment of marginalized people. So let's examine it before discussing some solutions. DW News on February 29, 2019 describes how Hollywood contributes to racially insensitive stereotypes, where the first opportunities for non-white actors were restricted to playing caricatures of themselves, portraying racial stereotypes that are still pertinent today. While these portrayals may not be as stark as they once were, the effects of their negligence results in unsubstantiated, inaccurate storytelling, where POC pain is often holistic, involving not only physical pain, but that of spiritual, psychological, and physiological injuries. Whitewash narratives are often told without nuance, creating two-dimensional ideas of people of color. But the solution is simple. Acknowledge the difference between exploitative, misinformed representations of people of color and accurate portrayals. Bustle on June 8, 2019 lists a whole bunch of films about race that white people should watch, including Do the Right Thing, Real Women Have Curves, and The Joy Luck Club. What makes these films so important is the authentic representation and voice of advocacy. Production involved POC crew members, writers, directors, and actors that told these stories for the sake of activism. However, when a production team mainly of white crew members seek to profit off of POC pain, then that is exploitative. When white people perform wokeness by telling POC stories without consulting people of color, that is when watching POC pain changes from advocacy into entertainment, disguised as activism. After George Lopez's Netflix special, Lisa made a post about why it was her duty as a white girl to write a complaint to a Starbucks during the height of BLM protests. She then added the videos of both Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd's murders, along with selfies of other white unmasked protesters as they posed with their signs at a protest with the caption, "All Black Lives Matter, White Fist." Needless to say, we're no longer friends. But unfortunately, Lisa isn't the only one continuously resharing videos of POC pain. POC pain goes viral almost daily on so many different platforms. Boston's NPR News on February 29, 2019 asserts, videos of attacks on Latinos have surged on all social media platforms, depicting harassment for speaking Spanish in public, family separation, and even the senseless slaughters of street vendors. And while some may argue that these videos serve as catalysts for social change, a study conducted by Palo Alto University on December 5, 2019 counters. An overabundance of these videos runs the risk of re-traumatizing audiences of color, all while desensitizing white audiences. Now, this doesn't mean we should just ignore POC pain when we see it, but rather approach it with nuance. So what's the solution? Easy. Educate yourself and read the room. Be mindful of the risk sharing these videos have, but also be cognizant of the lessons they bear. Don't be frivolous in sharing these potentially triggering videos to just anyone. Send them to people who can learn from them directly. You're already sliding into DMs anyway. Why not make it educational? Instead of resharing videos of Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd to absolve yourself of white guilt, make a post that calls the incident for what it is: racism. Share information about protests, mental health resources for people of color, petitions and organizations that need donations. Only by advocating against racist behavior can we even attempt to create a more race-conscious future. 2019, my very Latinx team and I went to the Harvard Invitational, where we watched a duo in the final round that was about and by Chicanos. I remember it was the first time we were ever able to watch our community be represented on a major stage, and it even brought some of us to tears, because it was time that somebody heard our truth. Let's have a difficult conversation and talk about performative activism and how the speech community can sometimes perpetuate our pain. Essentially, the speech community consumes POC pain on a daily basis. This activity has a long history of advocacy through performance, and though inspiring, it often tells students of color that in order to be successful, you must perform and relive your trauma. The average student of color will perform their trauma anywhere from 3 to 5 times per event every weekend, not including hours of practice. But what's worse, white audiences demand more while sequestering our authenticity. Too often, myself and other Latinx competitors are asked to push ourselves to extraneous lengths for their entertainment. We must muddle Spanish and replace it with English. Imagine weaving between barbed wire fences or even the devastating conditions of ICE detention centers. It is not our job to put ourselves on display for your approval. And when we decide to showcase our truth, we're not asking you to validate our voices, but rather listen to our stories as we choose to tell them. First and foremost, this activity needs to be more aware of the effects of performative activism. Coaches, it is necessary to check in on students doing potentially triggering literature and ensure that they are doing material that they are comfortable with, not just pieces exploiting their traumas for a one. Judges, quit telling students of color to deliver more emotion and go harder when the very things you want them to connect to, you will never understand. Audiences, quit watching and rewatching performances of POC pain without doing anything to prevent that pain in our daily lives. Because while you get to click off, these stories are our realities. And for my POC performers, let's start celebrating who we are. Don't feel obligated to perform your trauma. But if you do, acknowledge that advocacy involves rest. Perform radical acts of self-care. Maintain healthy boundaries and limits. Perform for the advocacy, not for the validation. Sacrificing your well-being is not worth a trophy. Together, we can make speech a celebration of our lives. Esto es una forma en que usaré esta actividad para celebrar mi cultura. ¿Cómo harás lo mismo? So, maybe it wasn't a good idea to have Lisa over for George Lopez night, but hopefully you could learn a thing or two about my woeful tales. Like my allotted 10 minutes for this speech, my time in this activity is almost up. But it doesn't have to be painful, because after looking at the ways we consume POC pain and learning how to be better, I have faith that now, more than ever, we will begin to celebrate people of color for all the culture, success, resilience, and history that we are.
Thank you, Judith, for that illuminating performance. Now, before I introduce our next speaker, I would like to tell you about my own experience with speech and debate. I recall making it to nationals in my first year in speech. As I went to see one of my teammates' performance at the time, the posting for the semifinal round for informative speaking were going up at the same time. My name was on it. But keep in mind, I had no idea of this. So everybody goes crazy, I mean, literally. They all go looking for me everywhere. As they eventually found me, I remember seeing their faces and thinking, why do they seem so worried, exhausted, and quite relieved? As I cut out on what was going on, I was really nervous. I mean, I had not gone over my script. All the other competitors were waiting for me, and I was expected to go up next. As I was walking into my round, I remember getting stopped by my coach, Mr. Tina Harrell, and saying these words to me. Hey, you got this. Just breathe, slow down, and you fake it till you make it. It was then when I realized how strong of a bond we have as a team. Now, our next speaker is performing a program oral interpretation, also known as POI, which relies on the performer's ability to portray a wide range of character and literature all held together under a common theme. Each program must contain at least 2 of the 3 genres, like poetry, prose, and drama, and each student is encouraged to perform all 3. There is a set time limit of 10 minutes with a 30-second grace period. Now, students who decide to compete in POI should focus on making an interesting argument that is supported in different ways by each piece of literature. Now, our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, Cassandra Rios, who has had such an incredible success throughout her years in speech and debate, breaking into multiple final rounds, including tournaments like Harvard and Bradley, as well as qualifying to this year's national tournament. Please welcome my other half, who is only just 5 minutes older than me. All your life you have never seen a woman taken by the wind. In folklore, Elichusa begins as a normal human woman who sells her soul to the devil. In order to become mystical powers, she becomes a bruja. Elichusa are shape-shifting witches. According to stories told by Mexican Tejano people, Elichusa appears to be a large bird with a woman's face in it. Directly translated the word Lechusa means out. In response to the old dudes who make YouTube videos complaining that I write too many poems about rape. I know you think I talk too much. I know you think this isn't what a pleasant survivor is supposed to sound like. Do you know how long it took me to say anything at all? Latina and Hispanic women experience intimate partner violence at high rates. 1 in 3 Latinas experience intimate partner violence during her lifetime. When I was younger, we learned about the witches, about them being hunted down. We were told this was all a misconception, that true witches were never to be found. But I know the real. True. Mexican folklore tells the tale of the lechuza, the witch who, through magic, can turn herself into a giant white owl told for generations. Many have used the story as a cautionary tale for men, explaining that they ever to scorn a woman, they could be the next victim of the lechuza. A further explanation for this tale includes the broad justice statistics notes. Sexual violence against Latina women has exponentially grown over the course of the last decade. It further explains this because Latina women face unprecedented barriers such as culture and language that are far less likely to report these crimes. So la lechuza embodies the souls of the voiceless women who have experienced sexual assault and rape, and who are now searching for justice in the form of vengeance. Countless victims go unheard and the stories simply vanish. The following program reimagines the story of the lechuza to give voice to survivors of sexual assault and to amplify the multitude experiences women face when having to deal with such harm. So using the song we're in about Fluid Mag, prose, let me tell you about the lechuza Bateria Veliges, poetry, yet another reprint by Blake Ferry, drama, witch hunt by Vanim Holmes, articles, facts from the Cleveland rape crisis, and 17 creepy facts from the lechuza by Emily Madrina. A program, because no one's survivor story looks the same, and a time for us to honor and respect the variety of ways women choose to heal themselves from such violence. The West, they continue to look like normal women during the day, but at night they become lechuza, like owls, like bodies and human heads. La lechuza will fly to the air, ooh, perch someone hidden, and look for prey. Sometimes I worry I write too much about assault. I worry I'm putting too much responsibility on you, the listener. But when I talk about my trauma, I'm not asking you to carry it or release me from it. I'm just asking for it not to be too heavy for a conversation. In this place, on this stage, it's the only place I feel acceptable to talk about my trauma. And there's no socially acceptable place to talk about rape. Whereas sexual violence forces many women to leave their home countries. 64% Central American women seeking asylum cite the risk of rape, assault, extortion. And other is their main reason for migrating to the U.S. In class, we heard about the lechuza, the witches that would go out at night stinking the blood of the men. La Llorona had a reason to cry. She longed for her kids. Then I started to wonder if she longed for her kids. What did these women, La Lechuza, long for? I realized this at a party I didn't want to be at. Someone asked how he's doing, and his name spills out to my mouth to a puddle of vomit on the floor, and I apologize. And I apologize. And I apologize. And to the host says, "Shoot girl is sorry. Is that the only word you know how to say?" Suddenly I'm the embarrassed crying at the party because I made the mistake of speaking at what was supposed to be happy occasion. And I'm afraid to wear my recovery to publicly. I noticed that people stopped calling me victim and only started calling me survivor. After I stopped talking about it, Latina and Hispanic women face complex barriers to report rape and seeking support. survivors, feeling shame and fear of not being believed. She's a candle dark and then she's darkness. Mexican folklore is full of tales of women, especially the want or long form they can't have. They talk about how they become witches and owls and cats, and other animals are searching for the man they love or can't have anymore. Is this what women are reduced to? Is this how my culture views me as a woman? I start bringing flowers to the grave of the teenage I used to be. Back orchids in my hair, polka dots in my shoes, bubbling over with light. I used to refuse to wear the dress I was assaulted in. I used to imagine it was draped in sash or conchity because he was the only witness. I threw the underwear away. I didn't want to write a statement or write a report. I wanted to take a shower. I wanted to scream that my statement is that I stay here, in this body. Perhaps La Lechuza is a woman who's thinking something. She's thinking truth and justice. She's the environment and the voices and generations of women have been taken advantage of and don't say anything because I thought he loved me or because I was afraid of what my family will say. I wear the dress I was assaulted in. And I don't associate it with him just to remind myself that he does not own a single fucking part of me. I found a way to heal through the poetry. This is me healing. This is me reclaiming ownership over my own body. This is the only place I have control over the nerves that they cannot interrupt me. Even though trauma has a way becoming the wallpaper of my head. Watch me drag the arch of my suffering. Watch the passes down my spine and bloom into the garden poacher from every horrible thing that ever happened to me. It is said that Lechuza was burned whole life tracing the victims. They were not rest. They're amongst the most free creatures in all of the Latino Mexican culture. So I propose this. Something to think about. Latina women aren't skunk creatures who stalk the prey. They are victims of the men who hurt them. We are strong, powerful, vibrant, and chingona. Before you hear the story of the Lechuza, picture this. If your life was ruined, if you're violated and had no one to talk to or turn to, willing to let the world know that you mattered, that you weren't just a victim. When I was younger, we learned about the witches, about them being hunted down. We were told this was all a misconception, that true witches were never to be found. But I know the real truth.
Thank you, Cassandra. So what is Impromptu? Impromptu is a public speaking event where students have 7 minutes to select a topic, brainstorm their ideas, outline, and deliver a speech. This event challenges a student's ability to deliver a speech in a clear and coherent manner. Now, what makes speech and debate different from other programs at Santa Ana High School like theater or drama? Now, while things are similar in the way that we each get a script and memorize it, the key difference, aside from us talking to walls, is the performances and speeches that we give. I mean, I love musicals. I could recite the entirety of Hamilton in my sleep. But it's not every day you hear about a new play or musical talking about things we experience firsthand every day, like racism or immigration problems and many other things. Today, our speaker, Ana, was asked to deliver her interpretation of this image. So, without further ado, our great speaker, who is great at every event she does, Ana Cecilia Fierro.
Amidst a global pandemic, fighting against systemic racism, guessing what Ted Cruz was going to tweet next that would embarrass all of America, and global depression, the internet decided that the best way to cope would be through making iced coffee and finding new ways to dance. Because COVID-19 works hard to take us from our everyday lives, but somehow, TikTok works harder. I mean, really think about it. The past years have been exhausting, but as a nation, we've come together to find ways to distract and entertain ourselves from the living hell we're going through. Today, I received a meme that I think perfectly encapsulates this. The picture of a little girl in front of a burning house, or Disaster Girl. I think today, I'm Disaster Girl. You're seeing performances about trauma and extremely sad things. And amidst all of this, I am here to give you briefly 5 minutes of neutral chaos, which is my interpretation of today's meme. Neutral chaos in the midst of detrimental times. So, we can review this meme's philosophy by first looking at SpongeBob's positive attitude in his depressing state, first-generation students, and finally, learning and teaching through a pandemic. SpongeBob is one of the most infamous TV shows of all times. It follows the story of an overly enthusiastic sponge that soaks up all the bad things in life in exchange for a better attitude. But if we really look deeper into the show, everybody surrounding SpongeBob is miserable. I mean, Squidward is in a constant state of depression and is the form of capitalism on the working class, but I mean, that's a conversation for next time. Mr. Krabs is greedy for money all the time. And Sandy, well, she's a squirrel living under the sea, so you could imagine how rough that gets. But SpongeBob, he's their neutral chaos. He balances out everything. He always has something so insanely stupid, but uplifting to say. He's that little girl in front of the fire. And yes, there is fire, even in Bikini Bottom, even though it's in the middle of the sea. He teaches us that we need to take advantage of every single moment we have available to us, and that having a pet snail is completely acceptable, but only if you name him after a middle-aged man, which, in his case, Gary. All right, now that we've talked about the only and most enthusiastic sponge in all of the land, we can talk about the lives of first-generation students. From the perspective of a first-gen student myself, I can tell you that it's insanely difficult. You're the first for everything. First to apply to college in America, first to go to a white people party where their form of fun is dancing to Taylor Swift lyrics and not the beat, amongst a lot of other things. But one of the things that hurts the most as a first-generation kid is being able to see everybody else receive help while you stand by. And the thing is, you can't even show the emotions of panicking as a first-generation student, because you'll come off as ungrateful that your parents made it all the way here. So picture this. First-generation students are the little girl in front of the burning house, and the burning house is America. I mean, we're the little girl, but except if the little girl was sobbing on the inside and panicking. Now that we've talked about hiding emotions, we can talk about another thing that hides emotions. Teachers! I'm kidding, partially. But we can look at teachers in the pandemic like this meme. The pandemic and all of learning online on school is the burning house, and teachers are the people that are in front of it, or the little girl that's smiling. I have seen my teachers this year desperately try to make classes better and keep their classes engaged. And from a student perspective, I feel awful. I can just turn off my camera and live out my burnout by myself while being on mute. But that is something that they cannot do. As a teacher, you must wake up every single day and go to teach your equally as discouraged class, and have to do it with a smile on your face. And yeah, it's depressing. But the house will eventually not be on fire. We will eventually get out of this and go back to the form of normal that we once knew. And I ask of everybody in this virtual room to be considerate when we do go back, so that when we're back, it's better than it ever was before. Today I received the meme of a girl in front of a burning house smiling, or disaster girl. And I interpreted her to mean neutral chaos in the middle of detrimental times. We explored this through the example of SpongeBob in the middle of his depressing state, looking at first-generation students, and finally, teaching and learning through a pandemic. We have all been the girl in front of the burning house smiling. But we must make like SpongeBob and have a positive attitude about the things that are going on around us. Because COVID and Ted Cruz could have very well ended everybody in this room. But it didn't. And that's what's important, that we actually made it through this. And I hope that we will continue to. So make like the little girl, and keep a smile on your face, even through fire.
Thank you, Anna, that was awesome. Not only do we have the best snack bar in town, but Santa Ana Speech and Debate has a bunch of other benefits, such as scholarships, travel opportunities, and internships. For most of us, speech has allowed us to become more comfortable with speaking in front of a crowd, improved our writing abilities, and has helped us find power in our voices. Standing in front of a crowd, seeing people paying attention to you, listening to what you have to say, knowing that you have the chance to change the world. It's one of the best feelings. Speech has given us a platform to showcase our truths and experiences. What we speak about, as you can tell, are our real-day issues. Immigration, racism, xenophobia, or just our day-to-day struggles. So this next speaker is someone I've known for a long time. Not only has she broke to multiple final rounds and traveled to multiple tournaments, but she has been the furthest this year to break at a Harvard tournament, placing 8th, and California State and National first place qualifier. And her biggest accomplishment, being the worst older sister. Just kidding, she's cool. Sometimes. Performing her OO on the liability of education, Stephanie Mesa.
When I won Student of the Year in 2019, my parents were so proud and so confused. They kept asking me how I could be in the honor roll, but also have 6 missing assignments in one class. And I'm not saying it's because everyone loves me, but I am very lovable. At least that's what I thought. Until I realized that many of my teachers actually just had low standards for me. But it's not just me. It's people who look like me. No, I'm not talking about models. No, I'm talking about Black and brown folk. As the National Association for Gifted Children of April 18th, 2018 explains, many educators aren't trying to raise the achievement ceiling for students of color. They're trying to raise an achievement floor. Simply put, the education system has been undermining minorities' potential because we are seen as brainless. By not challenging children of color to reach for excellence, educators are further hindering students from their full potential, falling into a pattern of brown pity, which contributes to the narratives of people of color being feeble-minded because of adversity challenges, from high dropout rates to biased teaching strategies. Brown pity is only further marginalizing students of color. So today, let's take a look at the causes of brown pity, its effects on both the giver and the receiver, and viable solutions. Because brown pity doesn't level the playing field. Instead, it tells students of color that our white counterparts simply deserve better than us. In 8th grade, my teacher introduced us to the first Latino piece of literature I had ever read, The House on Mango Street. But as soon as we read the first page about the girl with an alcoholic father, my teacher then says, "Oh, Stephanie, you're going to love it. It resonates with your life." Meet Stephanie? I have never had a one-on-one with this teacher, but apparently she's an expert on my life. Our biases infiltrate the classrooms in two ways: our teachers and our textbooks. Historically, teaching institutions believed minority students were not as smart as white students. Pacific Standard of February 18, 2019 explains, educators often base students' intelligence on cultural stereotypes, meaning while white and Asian students are assumed to be more intellectually gifted, Black, Latino, and Native American students are assumed to be inferior. In fact, this mindset is so pervasive that it's actually measurable. In a 2019 study done by researchers at Indiana University Bloomington, they found that not only did a majority of STEM professors hold implicit bias against racial minorities, but it caused students to feel motivated, have low self-esteem, and overwhelmingly negative classroom experiences. Essentially, our education system is built on denying access to people due to how they look. Next, education is homogenized, not only physically, but in the curriculum. Despite their historical, political, and economic disadvantages, minority students still get into Ivy League colleges. The Washington Post March 22, 2019 reports, racial and ethnic minorities are frequently used to meet diversity quotas. But student populations aren't the only non-diverse part of our education, because the material that we study is just as plain. The Indy Star of March 6, 2019 explains that the history of racial injustice that we are taught is completely homogenized, because the only teachings about race come from a Western perspective, meaning we are taught more about our oppressors than the pioneers that fought their oppression. Take, for instance, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This is the extent of racial education for so many students. But the story is written by a white woman, without celebrating the accomplishments of minority authors, historians, and scientists. We leave children of color with no academic role models. One of the main things I'm going to miss about not traveling this year are out-of-state tournaments. I mean, what's not to love? Exploring a new city, seeing a new campus, hearing xenophobic comments from my competitors. I mean, hey, where else can you make it to finals and hear the competitor from your first round say, "Oh, the Mexican made it?" Yeah, the person with the broken English did make it. But we have two effects: racism and internalized oppression. First, teachers unknowingly lower the bar of excellence for the students of color. The New York Times in 2018 found teachers underestimate students because of their race or gender. But can you blame them? I mean, until the 1950s, segregation was perfectly normal. Sarah Webb, founder of colorismhealing.org, notes that the colorism displayed by educators stems from them being unaware of an implicit bias they have about people with a darker complexion. Similarly, a study done at the University of Mannheim on May 9, 2018 found teachers graded the performance of a student who appeared to have a migrant background significantly worse than if a student without a migrant background. Essentially, the institution we've trusted to educate youth about racism displays the biased behaviors we're trying to eradicate. And there are dire consequences. Researcher at the University of California, Los Angeles, Dr. Emily Cheng explains, students who suffer from the biases of their education internalize their oppression, believing that their failure isn't caused by a rigged system, but by their own lack of intelligence and ability. Which is why it shouldn't be surprising that students of color are less likely to challenge the education system and demand better for themselves. They don't feel capable or entitled to those resources. Minorities have overcome stigmatizations and pervasive stereotypes of all forms. Our education system must be a total fight against it. I was pretty sure my 4.6 GPA and extracurriculars gave me a fighting chance with my applications, but I still asked if there was anything else I could do. My counselor then says, oh, don't worry about that. Your story and affirmative action have you covered. Great. So I guess this trauma that I carry is supposed to ease my anxieties about college. Anyways, we need to address brown pity through demanding legislation while making them accessible in K-12 education. First, let's revamp the curriculum by introducing more scholars of color into the ways we educate the youth. Add authors of color to your reading list like Roxane Gay or Cheryl Harris. Talk about more historical figures of color beyond men like M.L.K. or Cesar Chavez. Add space to read about Gloria Ann Saldúa, Marsha B. Johnson, or Truman Ha. Representation matters, but so do the stories and words from the very people that have had experiences that speak to us and motivate us to continue our education. We need to do more to keep students enthusiastic and concentrated on checking off academic goals so that they have a better chance to graduate and pursue certification after high school. Counselors, make students aware of grants, competitions, and distinguished academic groups to advocate for them to pursue a college degree. Second, sociology, ethnic and gender studies should not be something that we have to wait to pay for until we're in a college program. Instead, we need our school boards locally and nationally to pass legislation that demands that this curriculum be taught in our branch of schooling in K-12. Kindergarten teachers can use storytelling time to enlighten students about Native Americans. Or AP history teachers can teach analytical responses to understand how history can be manipulated through rhetoric or social power. Simply put, we need to get creative. All students deserve an equal shot for success. Teachers, you don't have to agree on your students' perspectives. Just model open-mindedness and commit to taking the time to learn about the issues, so that then we can both identify and address bias and racism when we encounter them. Children of color are listening to stories they're told, watching the people they want to be like. They are dying to see themselves reflected in academia. Let's foster that space for them. After looking at the causes, effects, and solutions, I'm not willing to compromise my academics. And my teachers shouldn't have to either. And I know my parents are waiting for you to hold me accountable on those 6 months assignments. Do it! I am ready to show you that I can meet your standards.
Damn, was that educational? I'm sorry, that was bad. Okay. Sorry, let me find this real quick. Anyway, how are you guys? Okay. So aside from looking amazing and getting the best looking award, aside from earning the best looking award the team award, Santa Ana High School speech has also won numerous awards at the local and national level. In just this year alone, SAHS broke the most students to outruns at the Harvard Invitational, was the first SAUSD team to take home the George Armstrong Trophy, had all 3 state finalists advance and place in the top 5, qualified 5 students to the National Speech and Debate Tournament, and took first in the team sweepstakes at the Orange County Speech League Championships. So with that, I introduce our final event of the day, dramatic interpretation. Dramatic interpretation is a 10-minute dramatic performance, often involving real-life themes. You'll notice that about a minute into the performance, the speaker will melt into what is called an intro. In the intro, the speaker takes the time to introduce the theme of the piece as well as the title and author. Now, our next speaker has been at the forefront of this team's success since her freshman year. Not only did she just finish second at the state tournament, but she is also getting ready to compete at the national tournament. Doing her dramatic interpretation is junior Destiny Seja.
Okay, mijo, we're just gonna be in and out, okay? Sí, no te preocupes.
Hi. Hi, excuse me. I have an appointment for my son. Oh, yes, it's Dr. Hasselhoff. Halfstrider, yes, that's it. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Yes. Yes, hello. Yes, here he is. Okay, mijo. Now you're just gonna be in and out, okay? He gets a little nervous when he's in there. So okay, mijo. Now you sure you don't want me in there with you? More nervous? Okay, pues yeah, okay. But I'll be right out here though, okay, mijo? Just down the hall, okay? Bye. Since Trump took office in 2017, there has been significant discourse surrounding racism in the U.S. immigration system. However, as IJ's data of January 2018 points out, glaringly absent from these conversations has been the robust understanding for co-foundational framework for immigration exclusion in the U.S. Ableism. Early immigration policies excluded those deemed physically defective. Today, disabled people who apply for lawful entry face numerous obstacles to admission, and as a result, 12.6% of over 11,000 children currently held in ICE detention have disabilities. Every day, thousands of undocumented immigrant families who depend on medical services in the U.S. to help their disabled loved ones confront our nation's shameful truth. A cost-benefit ratio determines human worth. Responsabilidad by Sean Patrick Diaz and Salva Setor. Excuse me. How long does it usually take? Okay, thank you. Nurse, are those officers always here? Security. Security. I get you. Thank you. Nurse, do you have a magazine? No, I see. Oh, my son loves these. Yes, Captain Underpants. Oh, he helps me read them. My English is not so good when it comes to paper. I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. It's just hospitals always make me nervous. His father used to bring him to these things. Well, he's out of town right now, for a bit visiting family in Mexico. Yes, hopefully he'll be back soon. Well, we're originally from Chiapas, Mexico. Oh, it's a beautiful place, gorgeous. It was just hard getting him the care he needed, so we had to come here. Yes, we're here legally. It's just the paperwork and all that. Like I said, my reading with English, it's Oh, really? Oh, your mother's home. What is? Ay, que la chingada, then you get it, Cici. All that paperwork and crap, it makes no sense. I see, dime. I know. I have to deal with that on the way here. Yes, Cici, because there's this checkpoint on the way here. I'm sure your mother probably told you stories about that stuff. Why did they let me cross? I just lied. Because they asked, U.S. citizen, and I just said, yes. See, and I guess they believe me because they let me go. But I just kept thinking about speeding off if they tried to stop me. Because my son was sitting behind me needing this treatment, and was I was doing what I had to do. But we're here now. And that's all that matters. Hey, ¿Ves? Te dije in and out. Oh, you look so strong. I'm gonna make you carry me home. Yes. Thank you, doctor. Everything good? Do we need... Yes? Officers? Oh, I'm just bringing in my son for his appointment. We were about to leave, really, so I don't... An ID? Yes. Yes, I do. Just an ID. It's okay, Mijo. You know, I think it's in the car, you know, and he's just a kid, so I don't... Detain? No, for what? No, we're just here for his medicine, and you know, now we have to go, you know, I don't want his father to be worried. No, yes, officers, I understand, but can you just please just give me 1 moment. Hey, mijo, I'm gonna talk to these guys really quick, okay? Yes, I'll be right back, okay? I'll be right back. Officers, please, you don't understand. You see, I'm just here to get him the help he needs. Can you please just let us go? You see, he can't be. No, but you can't. You can't do this. My son needs to be here so they can take care of him. Please, it's not for me. Please, por favor, no dejen paz. Look, I can report to wherever you need me to, but can you please, you know, please just let me find some place for my son so I can... A detention center. But he is a child. You know, he needs to be taken care of, officer, please. I need to take care of my son. No me mientas, don't lie to me. I know exactly it is where you are taking him. Hey, officer, please, let me go, por favor, déjame en paz, por favor, es mío, por favor, officer. Officer, please stop, you're hurting me, por favor, sir. Mijo, no. It's okay, everything's fine. Everything is fine, Mijo. These men, they're gonna take care of you, and mommy just has to fill out some silly paperwork, okay, mijo? And I'll be right there, okay? Sí, mijo, yo también te quiero mucho. Officer, please don't do this. No. Can you make sure to help him? In the mornings, you know, when he wakes up. And can you brush his hair? And you know, he has trouble swallowing his food, so can you please be careful? And you know, when he needs a bath. Por favor, can you just make sure that someone is there with him at all times, please? Por favor, es mío, por favor. Por favor, Dios, no, por favor. Por favor, Dios, no.
Hi again, everyone. As you can tell, some of these pieces can be quite emotional. Before we go ahead and say goodnight, I want all of our speech and debate saints to come back and take their final bow.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. And then quick shout out to Grace. Grace, get over here. Grace. She had to sit there and record us, but we are very grateful for you. Thank you, Grace. And again, thank you for coming to our showcase. This was super fun. It was the first time, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, any last words?
Thank you.
Join the team. Join speech. Okay, ready? Okay. Bye, guys.